Hello everybody, yes, I'm gonna let you into the fourth wall, behind the scenes. I've already done this video, however, it completely cocked up, and I'll explain why. So I didn't realise that when I was filming my skinny little legs, that it was on horizontal mode, and then as I panned upwards, this is in the original clip, when I panned upwards, it then stayed as horizontal mode, so there was nothing I could do about it whatsoever. And I'm on the train back, not realising I'd this mistake until I went to see what the sound was like on the train back, and basically I was thinking, oh my god, look at that! Jesus Christ! Well, it's very rare to see the planes actually taking off from this end of where Hatton Cross is based. Very rare. So, yeah, it's a bit gutting they're not landing because the wind is pretty bad. But yeah, anyway, the point being is that I basically messed up the video, and now I'm having to re-record all this nonsense that I'd written down here. You mean score predictions? Yeah, good old score predictions. And just want to chat absolute, I say twaddle, I'm going to be keeping it brief, the twaddle, because lots of complaints. No complaints, as Alex says in the Clockwork Orange. Can't be complaining. But no, game week 30 obviously finished. Well, technically it's not finished, we've still got Chelsea at home to Tottenham, in which I'm expecting a victory for Chelsea. They are better at home than they are away from home. Tottenham are an absolute shambles. I believe the history as well is pretty good for Chelsea as well. So I'd like to think that basically, well, I'm hoping actually that Palmer comes through tonight with a double-digit haul. I think there was something Triggerlip said actually in his video today, where I thought, you know what, he's right. And that sun is magnificent. There was something Triggerlip said today where I thought, you know what, he's right, and it's about the people that got rid of Palmer, and just by pure fortuitous circumstances they brought in Saka. He goes and gets a return, and like Semi-Casual says, you got a bloke who's been not playing for what, I couldn't even tell you, months, and yet he's got more returns in his one game back than Palmer's done in the last 6 or 7 games. It just says everything really, but there's obviously reasons for that, and at the end of the day, you know, people like Late Riser captain him, so, and he's good at the game. There's no supposing about it, he's very good at the game, so hopefully I'll be celebrating a Palmer double-digit return, or a return, basically anything better than what Saka does. But yeah, game week 30, I put it out on X yesterday about the fact that, what the hell is that? Sorry, this is a bit impromptu, but look at this room. I've never seen this type of plane before. Yeah, very odd. The fact that it's just going over at exactly the same time that other planes taken off, that's very rare. So, yeah, as I stated on X today, I basically am about, I think, was it 12 points up from, so the plan was to wait till lastminute.com to do my transfers on Tuesday, and it looked like it was going to end up being, because of the Haaland news, him and Wood out for a -4, Marmoush captain and Mateta in. And basically, if I'd have done that, I'd have ended up on, including the hit, 33 points, I think, or 34 points. And turns out, did the wild card, I'm on 45 with Palmer left to play, but on the team before, it would have been 33 with Enzo to play. So basically, I'm up, and obviously just seen, well, hours ago now, but just seen that the double game week has been announced officially. So me and Ray were in conversation, and like I said on the Patreon this morning, truth be told, whether you're playing free hit in 33, free hit in 34, really doesn't matter. I think all teams are going to be give or take exactly the same. It's going to be down to the small differentials in which we are going to be having within our teams. Like, I don't know, a double up of Rashford and Asensio as an example. I've already messaged Ray, kind of said the idea of the players that we're going to have in, and it's going to be obviously 3 Arsenal, a Crystal Palace player, probably Mateta, 3 City in Mamouche, Savinho/Foden, and probably Vardiol, and then of course it is Aston Villa, who, like I stated, I'm not really, their fixtures, Newcastle at home and Man City away, it doesn't exactly scream positivity. But the good news with Aston Villa is that they're fighting for something. They're legitimately fighting for a place in the Champions League / as high up in the league as possible to get a European spot. So if they do well over the next few, starting with this week against Nottingham Forest, if they get a win against Nottingham Forest, and then they go on to take on whoever it is next week in 32, and then in 33, they've got the opportunity to actually get into Champions League spot. At this point, Aston Villa could be a real serious contender for tripling up. But then you look at the single game week players in game week 33, specifically Liverpool. They got Leicester away. Now again, I think by this point most teams will have had their positions cemented. So for instance, Liverpool will be champions. Well, we will know they're champions anyway, but I think by that point, give or take, they'll be confirmed it. So I'm not saying that Liverpool won't be professional. They will still maintain their standards, but certainly I expect maybe a tiny little drop off. But against Leicester, look, you'd expect them to win there at least. But the point I'm trying to get at is that I think having a Liverpool player, Salah, I guess, in the team, it's just going to mean, just as a shield, isn't it, really? You don't want to be really going against someone like Mo Salah when he's got Leicester away, when you're what is it? I looked at it and someone could do, all 3-4 teams that are doubling for game week 33. And essentially it could be just a case of, 3 Arsenal, 3 Man City, 3 Crystal Palace, and 3 Arsenal, Aston Villa, whatever I said. And the truth be told is that means 12 players. Well, like I said, I've already said to Ray that I'm wanting it to be 3 Arsenal, 3 Man City, 1 Crystal Palace, and then depending on how Aston Villa are going, 1, maybe 2 at a push. But certainly, like I said on Patreon, the people that played the wild card, which is a lot of you, and played the wild card, and essentially they have set up for 33, but their team in 34 is going to be a free hit. Well, the players that me and Ray are going to have in game week 34 are virtually the same as what anybody with the 33 doubles are gonna, for when we free hit in 33. Our teams are all virtually set up exactly the same. There's no real differentials per se. I mean, even when I went through the Patreon mini league, the top 4, could you drive any closer? Could you drive any closer? Fucking hell. That's when I want the taxi driver to slam on his brakes so he goes in the back of him. Oh! Anyway. So, I'm not allowed to talk about real life events. I forgot about that. I've just, actually, funny, just quickly, I've just seen a message from Andrew Ferguson, and he made a really, really interesting point in the Patreon comments. He says that he just feels this channel, or the way I am specifically, is just too grown up for most. And I can't wait to talk about that on the next Patreon podcast. But anyway, so yeah, where was I? Oh yeah, in the Patreon top 4, I looked at it, and 3 out of the top 4, so what was it, Patrick, Graham and Andrew, they basically all have virtually the same teams. You know, there's the odd differential, but the back, what was it, the back 4, the back 5 in the sense of 5 defenders and the goalkeeper, they all had Raya, always the same, all had Raya, they all had Munoz, they had Gabriel, and then the Newcastle defender was either Livramento or Byrne, and they all had Konsa. Now one of them, I forget who, had a double up of Saliba and Gabriel, but you get the idea with that. And then up front, all of them had the same, Marmoush, Isaac and Mateta. And then midfield, that's where it kind of got a bit slightly different. Some of them, like Andrew and Graham, took punts on Saka, and it paid off. Well done, you know, well done to anybody that got in Saka early. That is, you know, a real differential that's paid off. Some of them did have Savinho in the team, which again, brilliant. You know, I was banging on about him, but again, me and Ray were just, we don't know if he's going to start or not. We don't know if he's going to start or not. Obviously he does, and he punishes us, but whatever. These things happen. And then these particular, I looked through their teams and I'm like, well, in Gameweek 33, when I'm assuming they're not going to be wildcarding, sorry, they're not going to be free hitting, they're going to be just leaving their teams as they are, and maybe over the next couple of game weeks bringing an additional double game week player in, I don't know, another Arsenal asset, for instance. I think that all our teams are going to be give or take the same, whereas in game week 34 a lot of these guys are going to be like, I think Andrew, I looked at his team and he's only going to have like 6 players available in game week 34, but he'll free hit, and then he's just going to have what, like we all will, 3 Newcastle. You've then got, what was it, Liverpool, which me and Ray are going to have double up of Salah and Jota. So that's going to be quite a lot of people having that. Maybe not that specific combination, but whatever. You're then looking at, you know, who are the other teams that have got decent fixtures? I'm looking at, I was just like, it ain't that getting West Ham at home to Southampton, isn't it? I mean, oh, that is a beautiful view. Beautiful. It's when the big planes fly over, that's when I just cannot get enough of it. I always say this as well, I can't express, this camera does no justice how big it actually is, and the view that you get from this vantage point, so to speak. I mean, most people, I'll walk down there in a minute, I'll show you where most people go, but oh, sorry, can't be talking about that, too grown up, too real. So, yeah, so West Ham have got Southampton, I believe, at home, and yeah, really the fixtures for game week 34, me and Ray have actually covered with our team. So I think both strategies are fine. I'm a bit annoyed that I couldn't really talk to Gary much about it on the stream last night because of, well, you know, the tech issues and all that. But I'll be talking to him tomorrow on his stream about it anyway. I'm sure I will. But yeah, it seems that a lot of people they're just going with the same strategies, really, and that's fine. And I'm just glad that me and Ray, like I stated, had that really interesting conversation at Nando's and basically agreed that, look, rather than free hitting 34, building up the team and not having to do many transfers other than maybe 2 at most. Because he's just messaged me now about maybe bringing in Van Dijk for Gabriel. And I said, well, thankfully we don't need to do that transfer. It's not a rush transfer. It's not an emergency. We can easily play Milenkovic for this specific game week anyway. I've got no problems with that whatsoever. Because that game is going to... It's almost a 6-pointer, but for the Champions League spots, isn't it, between Nottingham Forest and Aston Villa? Because obviously Aston Villa are wanting to get that Champions League spot or get as high up as they can, and if they can remove points away obviously from Nottingham Forest, it will certainly mean that, you know, there's a small chance that one of several teams could nick it off Forest if Nottingham Forest start falling off, which I don't think they will, and if the other teams continue winning. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting battle for the 4th spot, because Man City, as we know, I mean, give or take, they've got it. Even though, ironically, Nottingham Forest are in a better position, but Nottingham Forest don't really want to be, you know, letting slip. Obviously, a very good result against Man United, but yeah, overall, like I said, game week 30 went okay. I mean, you know, like Roberto, he had 26 points on his bench. I had 22. Yeah, 22 I had. So, annoyingly, you know, these things happen, but there's nothing I can even do about that, to be honest with you. But certainly, if I get a shot like that. But certainly moving on to game week 31, where, what was it, FPL Mate put up on X? We've waited 2 and a bit weeks for FPL to return, and this is what we get. Yeah, exactly, absolute shite. You know, it's just embarrassing, and yet you follow it up with the game week 31 fixtures, where obviously the chat is around Newcastle assets, specifically Isaac. Will he be fit, will he not? Thankfully the game's on Monday, we'll have more information hopefully coming up over the next couple of days, but Isaac for me is the best captaincy. I think this week the fixtures, you know, Everton at home to Arsenal, I think it's going to be a really tight game. I actually think potentially as I've said, written it down in my little book of wisdom, Native American wisdom, I think that is going to be a really tight game. I'm honestly, I would not be surprised if it ended 0-0, 1-1, 1-0 either way, something like that. Not great at all. The irony when you kind of want someone like Gabriel to play. Oh, he's off injured. No, he's out for the season, isn't it? Yeah, he's out for the season. Crystal Palace versus Brighton, another Crystal Palace rubbish at home, Brighton rubbish away from home, and I'm giving it to Crystal Palace to nick it. But again, we've all got the like Sam, Munoz. I mean, you know what's going to happen. I always state it, when we expect something to happen in, you know, a good game week, it doesn't, and then all of a sudden in the following game week they return. So expect Sarr to return, Munoz to return, you know, Queenshy, Henderson, hopefully Eze. Yeah, it's just an absolute laugh, to be honest with you. Get a shot of that. Yeah, it just always bloody happens, doesn't it? It's like Salah capped. Like if Salah, which could be a decent option this week to captain, you know, really good statistics away from home. Has he, Steve-O? What are you basing that on? The fact he's got load of double-digit hauls away from him. Oh, okay. You know, he's probably going to end up returning this week when everybody's jumping on Isaac. I mean, listen to this game up next. Ipswich against Wolves. I mean, come on. No one cares. In the words of Steve Merchant, no one cares. Unless you're an Ipswich or a Wolves fan. No one gives a shit. You know, again, that game, 1-1, 0-0, something like that. Maybe 2-1 either way. Mainly in Wolves' favour because Ipswich are terrible at home. But I think this is the big. Well, then you got West Ham against Bournemouth. I think avoid if you're doing an accumulator, don't even bother putting that in it. Horrific fixture to call. Really, really terrible fixture to call that. West Ham seem to be doing okay at home underneath Potter. Bournemouth, off the back of a disappointing result against Man City in the FA Cup, very disappointing result against Ipswich away. So, yeah, I think that certainly that is another tight game to call. I'm going 2-1 Bournemouth because basically Bournemouth are in slightly better form, I guess. Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest again. This is the big one for me. I think it's the biggest game of the weekend. Forget the Manchester derby. I really do think from a Premier League perspective, Aston Villa win. I don't know what position they move up to, but certainly they then clawed back Nottingham Forest. And it really will get tight between those teams that are chasing that third, fourth spot in the Champions League, Europa League, Conference League. And obviously it's probably going to be fifth spot as well. Ray said to me the other day regarding Champions League, 5 places. So really this is a game Aston Villa are going to want to win, but Nottingham Forest aren't going to want to lose. So honestly, 1-1, 2-1 either way. I think the fact that Chris Wood is out, I think that's a big problem for Forest. I think that it's going to be, right, we're going to have to revert to the, you know, allowing the teams to really come at us, and we'll try and hit on the break, and we'll just hold the teams off as long as we can. I think it's going to be a lot of the plan from Nuno now for a lot of the matches. It's going to be hitting on the counter. So yeah, I'm just going to think that's going to end up being 1-1 personally. Then got Brentford-Chelsea's an interesting one. I think that could be goals galore. I think we could have a really interesting match between these two. Brentford at home at the moment are poor. Chelsea away from home are poor. I think they're just going to go for it. I think it's going to be end-to-end. I've gone 2-2, maybe 3-2 either way. Fulham-Liverpool, you know, Liverpool have won the title. Fulham are on the beach. Fulham couldn't give a shit. Fulham are terrible at home. I expect Liverpool to come through this. 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. I've gone 2-1. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be a battering from Liverpool. But I think Slot now is just wanting to get this title over and done with. Get this title over and done with. Let's just be professional and get it done. Same with Tottenham versus Southampton, two teams that have got nothing to play for other than pride. I mean, specifically Tottenham. There was news in the Metro today that Ange Postecoglou is not concerned about potentially leaving. I know James on Planet FPL spoke to Gary and said that he's genuinely thinking that Postecoglou could be leaving at the end of the season, even if they were to win the Europa League. And in the paper it's talking about Pochettino, but he ain't going to come back, is he? Well, when I say he ain't going to come back, as if Ange was to leave, I don't think Pochettino comes in next season. But anyway, whatever. I think this is going to be a spanking here. I've gone 3-0, but honestly, if Tottenham want to put it on 4-0, 5-0, maybe even 6, genuinely, I think, you know, Ray's mate Swap, he has got Son in his team. What does he know that we don't? He's 700th in the world or whatever it is. 700th in the world. He puts Son in his wildcard team again. What does he know that we don't? To get 50p on Son to score at any time or assist at any time. Man United, Man City is very horrible game to call. I think Man City do a professional job here. I'm pretty sure the history suggests a low-scoring game. I'm suggesting a low-scoring game. I'm going 2-1 to Man City. And then finally, the game on Monday evening, where it is Leicester against Newcastle. Newcastle have to win. We know this. Newcastle assets are in high demand at the moment. Obviously, everybody owns Jacob Murphy. Everybody owns Isaac. It's then which differential defender. So like I said in the Patreon, you got people owning Livramento, Burn, in my case Trippier. Trippier apparently looked really good. A bit annoying that he came off with a tiny little problem with his groin. I think he'll be fine for Monday. I'm pretty certain he'll be okay. Obviously I don't know that for fact, but I like to keep updated with Ben Dinnery, and I like to think, well, yeah, he'll be good to go. Yeah, it's just a case of, for us, essentially, do we go with the captaincy on Isaac? Callum Wilson is available. He's fit, he's available. To be honest, I think for me it's going to be a case of Captain Isaac, but put the vice captaincy on Salah. My team for this week will just literally be exactly the same as game week 30, other than the fact that it'll be Milenkovic in for Gabriel, and it'll be Jacob Murphy in for that useless idiot Semenyo. Basically, I really do think that will be the case. Just a quick word on last night's stream with myself, Andrew, Gary and Roberto. Look, I said it last night and I'll say it again. From a tech point of view, I was legitimately inside spitting with rage. Look, these things happen, there's nothing I can do about it. But if we're still around next season, StreamYard is going to be the way. Thank you to the three of them for letting me know that, look, StreamYard is free. I personally was on the understanding it wasn't free, but anyway, whatever. So, and even if it wasn't free, I'd still happily pay for it just to make the experience more enjoyable for anybody tuning into this Tin Pot channel. But anyway, and I think that from my standpoint, you know, overall it was a perfectly fine experience, and anybody that endured it, well done to you. And on that note, good luck everybody, and we're just going to watch this giant plane fly by.